Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Sometimes the best way to find a living is to stay right where you are and study with UAS online. Career-specific distance programs from the University of Alaska Southeast are the fastest way to increase your earning power.
We connect all over the world.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning into this Monday's show. Up on the satellite imagery, we had a system here rolling through the southeast coast today. Most of it currently now off into Canada, so the rain changing over to showers this afternoon, but still a trough off the coast there, keeping it kind of showery as that rolls in currently early this evening. And a few showers associated with the cloudiness here over the eastern interior, mostly from northeast Copper River Basin on up into the upper Tanana Valley areas to about Eagle. And pretty good conditions here. South central Alaska, as you can see, into the interior. Just some variable clouds, although a few showers did kick off over the mountains of south central Alaska and locally along the Alaska Range. Out to the west, though, we've got this elongated front here with the main push off to the east, as you can see there, and it just gradually lifting up toward Kodiak Island. And so you'll be seeing the effects of that tonight. And that brought winds gusting about 35 miles an hour ahead of the front here for the Alaska Peninsula, and anywhere from 15 to 30 or so miles per hour along the southwest coast, except Cape Newenham reported a gust of 45 miles an hour. On the chart here, you can see ahead of the front's where the gradient is, and that's where those southeasterly winds were the strongest there, on up to about Nunivak Island, then diminished up over the northern Bering Sea. And the main low center here south of the Pribilofs with scattered showers behind the front, eastern Aleutians really widely scattered out with light winds over the central Aleutian areas. And then the colder air that began mixing with snow, and behind this trough falling mostly in the form of snow over the far western Aleutians and Komodorskis. Up to the north, a patch of light snow up here over the northwest interior, and also some flurries and fog going on over the eastern Arctic coast from about Aliktok all the way over here to the Mackenzie River Delta and Mackenzie Bay area, and a few flurries here from the Bering Strait, mostly in the Bering Strait there. Otherwise, pretty light in the precipitation. And for tonight, again, this trough will keep the showers lingering over the northern southeast coast, but will continue to diminish and see some clearing down over the southern panhandle with even possible breaks over the central area, high pressure building in. But a few scattered showers also linger along the North Gulf Coast from about Yakutat westward into Prince William Sound, and maybe a little bit of moisture starting to show up over the southern Kenai Peninsula area there. And this front brings gusty winds and rain into Kodiak Island this evening and overnight tonight. And a little bit of moisture sliding up the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range area, and some areas of light rain here along the southwest coast, Nunivak Island to as far north as possibly Cape Hermanzoff there, or maybe Amonic. That'll all stay south of St. Lawrence Island, but lifting north of the Pribilofs, so just look for a few scattered showers with fairly light wind conditions there. This next trough rotating some increase in the shower conditions in toward the eastern Aleutians. Otherwise, just some scattered to widely scattered showers back to the west, but winds quite light here now from Unalaska all the way out to Shimmy and Attu. And then looking ahead to tomorrow's forecast, this front continues to push eastward and also lifts northward. The flow of moisture now, so periods of rain, a pretty good bet from Fognak Island all the way up into western Prince William Sound there, and then the dry area, probably precipitation free here over the western Kenai Peninsula, Cook Inlet areas up into the Matanuska-Susitna Valley. Maybe a little bit of light rain on the eastern slopes of the Alaska Range there. Possible scattered light rain or snow showers up over the Koyukuk Valley. And again, maybe some scattered showers over the eastern Alaska Range. Otherwise, that's about it. High pressure just south of Yakutat on the center there, and in control of the entire southeast coast now. Most of the sunshine will be down to the south where there's a little more offshore flow. Still some variable clouds there, leftover moisture, but the showers should be completely over by tomorrow morning in that area. Winds stay on the brisk side up along the Arctic coast, all out of the east, 20, 25 knots, maybe in some cases high as 30 knots, but lighter easterlies at about 15 knots there. Kotzebue Sound and the southeastern Chukchi Sea areas. This moisture will be shifting northwestward tonight, overnight tonight, Noatak Valley areas, northern Seward Peninsula, maybe the western Arctic coast, and by tomorrow afternoon should be mostly out of the area there, although it may linger over the Bering Strait areas, but should be off the coast there of the western coastal areas. Back to the south, got some moisture here sliding westward, batch of showers here for Nunivak Island, the northern Bering Sea. This front really weakening here over the southwest interior, so just cloudy skies with areas of showers. And then again, as I mentioned, more of a general rain condition here from the Barren Islands on up into Prince William Sound. And then also this low advancing eastward slowly, in the south to north flow on the eastern side of that system begins to increase the moisture. So tomorrow afternoon, look for periods of light rain, fog, and drizzle kind of on the increase here for the Alaska Peninsula throughout the afternoon. Showers for the eastern Aleutians, and more moisture will be sliding northward there for tomorrow night. Then on Wednesday, an actual front and low center slides up to the northwest. So that'll bring an increase in the winds once again here for the Alaska Peninsula, with rain periods of there from that area sliding on up into the Pribilof Islands, with an increase in the winds there as well. Pretty good. Look for the winds to drop off a little bit there for St. Lawrence Island, and possibly some clearing here right down to the southwest coast. Then again, still picking up the showers, but high pressure building westward, and that's going to nudge this moisture back to the west again. So throughout the day, clouds will be decreasing, shower chances diminishing here, south central Alaska, definitely for Prince William Sound, and a partly to mostly sunny day in store for the southeast coast with continued light wind conditions. Just a risk of a shower over the central interior. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy with some sunshine. Could clear out pretty good up there along the Arctic coast and the North Slope areas. And again, this front mostly sliding northwestward here. And anyway, moving on to the temperatures. Mid to upper 40s for the southeast coast today. Stewart up to 50 degrees, but 48 down at Klawock. Same thing at Sitka, and a 45-degree reading both at Juneau and over at Yakutat. 47 Cordova, about the same there in Valdez. Anchorage up to 52, otherwise upper 40s here for the Kenai Peninsula area. Lower to mid 40s for Kodiak Island. 50 degrees there in the Susitna Valley today. Lower to mid 40s for the eastern Tanana Valley. Fairbanks once again topping the 50-degree mark, but 45 at Tanana, 48 over at McGrath. Up to the north, Bettles had 45, but higher elevation there at Anatuvik. 9 degrees this afternoon, but up to 34 at Arctic Village. And temperatures ranging from about 5 to 15 here for the Arctic coast, but up to 20 at Kaktovik. And Kotzebue reached 36 this afternoon, otherwise upper or low 20s here for the north coast of the Seward Peninsula. 43 at Nome, 16 Tin City and Savunga at 27. 37 degrees in Amonic with a 46-degree reading at St. Michael. Bethel reached 49. Mid to upper 30s out along the coast. Out west, 40 degrees at Shimia and 43 at Atka. Otherwise, Adak just 39 degrees this afternoon. Lower 40s for the Pribilofs and a 42 Nikolsky. Unalaska 45. Low to mid 40s here for the entire Alaska Peninsula, but 52 over at King Salmon. Lows tonight, 5 to 15 for the range here for the North Slope and the Arctic coast, and also into the Brooks Range. South of the mountains, though, mid 20s to lower 30s with the warmer conditions over the Tanana Valley, and then about mid 30s here for south central Alaska and areas of the Susitna-Matanuska Valley. Copper River Basin, mid 20s in some areas, upper 30s to lower 40s for the southeast coast, 30s for the Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and the Pribilofs. For the highs tomorrow, near 40 for St. Paul and St. George, about the same there for the Aleutians as well, more into the lower 40s for the Dutch Harbor area, and then mid 40s to lower 50s there for the Alaska Peninsula, and again King Salmon probably reaching 51 degrees, upper 40s for Kodiak Island, lower to mid 50s for all of south central Alaska, even the Copper River Basin, and Tanana Valley again, Fairbanks area into the lower 50s, with some mid-50s here over the northern Kuskokwim Valley area, and into the 50s for the southeast coast. Flying weather tomorrow morning, batch IFR or marginal VFR, Prince William Sound stretching into the northern panhandle. That's early tomorrow morning, as again some leftover showers in that area, and some marginal VFR central and eastern Arctic coast with IFR on the west side through the Bering Strait and down mostly, or into the Bering Sea, mostly off the coast, but Nunivak Island, and that just touching the Yukon Delta coast there, and that kind of extends back down into the west. And we'll see for tomorrow afternoon, you go VFR here through the entire stretch of the southeast coast, but moisture coming up. Look for IFR to develop here, the southern Kenai Peninsula into western Prince William Sound. So the Portage Pass outlook starting out marginal and becoming IFR with the lowest conditions on the eastern approach for that pass, and some marginal VFR showing up again on the east side of the western Alaska Range. Marginal VFR along the Alaska Peninsula, northern Bering Sea, up through the Strait. That's where all the IFR will be, but the Arctic coast looking VFR. For passes, Anatuvik, VFR in either approach tomorrow. Adigan, same forecast. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR, but possible marginal conditions on both entrances there on the east side. And for Rainy, VFR, but again the eastern entrance trending toward marginal throughout the day into the late afternoon. Otherwise windy, Mentasta, Isabel and Mentasta and windy will all be VFR tomorrow. Tonita looks good as well. Portage is missing, but I already talked about that. Chilkoot and White, again, starting out marginal VFR, especially in the early morning hours. That should rapidly kick into VFR conditions later on in the morning and stay that way maybe for the next couple of days. Freezing levels, area 2,000 feet here over the west central interior out over St. Lawrence Island. And that more or less extends down across Kodiak Island there. And really 2,000 feet here for the North Gulf Coast. The main increase doesn't take place until you get down to the Queen Charlottes, where you go from 4,000 feet rapidly to 10,000 feet down toward Vancouver Island. And the icing outlook, again, that moisture coming eastward and then sliding to the north. Pretty good icing possibilities, light to very isolated moderate rime type icing here, 5 to 16,000 feet. And then about 3 to 18,000 feet here with that southerly moisture streaming northward and kind of increasing throughout the day here for the Alaska Peninsula. And another glob out here kind of shifting off to the west and northwest, but just kind of grazing Nunivak Island and the southwest coast a little bit, maybe even the Pribilofs. So moving on to the winds aloft, well, at 9,000 feet, we've got southeast winds 50 knots there right across the Barren Islands. Otherwise, on the light side here for the central and eastern interior areas, easterlies at 25, eastern Arctic coast, and again, pretty good fetch of winds, 30 to 35 knots, picking up to about 40 knots for St. Lawrence Island, but diminishing as you head southwest there, where there's less gradient. And 3,000 feet, again, still have, even at this level, showing 50 knots, sailing right over the Fognac and Barren Island areas, and even up to 35 to 40 knots here across the southwest interior. and 30 to 40 knots, Nunivak Island up to St. Lawrence, 20 to 25 over the eastern Arctic coast. Light winds under high pressure here for the Panhandle. And looking at turbulence with those gusty winds, occasional moderate chop here, southern Cook Inlet and from the Barren Islands, Kachemak Bay, cutting right up the southwest coast to St. Lawrence Island, and also some mechanical moderate chop for the Alaska Peninsula with those continued southeasterly winds. And after the break, a hangar flying, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health in Anchorage. Thank you to Alaska Public Media for allowing us to bring you hangar flying. This evening, we are happy to have as our guest Alan Carpenter. Welcome to Hangar Flying, Alan.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. Appreciate it.
You've recently opened a flight school called Alaska Flying Adventures. You're not originally from Alaska, so can you tell us what brought you here?
Yes. In 1987, Alaska, actually it was Delta Airlines, acquired Western Airlines, and in that merger acquisition, Delta was able to pick up Western's routes to Alaska. My wife at the time was a flight attendant, and she said, oh my gosh, we've got these routes to Alaska, we've got to go. So we planned a fishing trip, took the family and came up. Had a wonderful time combat fishing on the Kenai, but I found that I was spending a lot of time looking up at float planes and wishing I was up there more so than down here, you know, catching these fabulous fish. So that was my first experience with Alaska, and there was something about it. It just got in my blood. I tell people it's like a virus, and I definitely got the virus. And every time I come home to Alaska from visiting outside, it's like coming to Disney World. I get that excitement all over again, like it's fresh every time.
And floats are definitely a good way to maintain that excitement.
Without a doubt. Float flying offers so much to people. I mean, if you like camping or hunting, fishing, canoeing, the out of doors, flying, it just incorporates it all together, and it gives you opportunities to go places and do things that you can't do in other places. I just can't describe enough how much fun it is.
So what kind of aircraft are you going to use to be going to those places in Alaska Flying Adventures?
We currently have 2 airplanes. We have a Cessna 185 on EDO 3430 floats and a Cessna 172 on PK 2300 floats. One is complex, high performance, for those that want to get float plane ratings or just build time, Alaska float time. With a complex, high performance airplane, there's none better. It's a great machine. And for those who aren't really trying to fly a complex airplane, they have the 172, which is quite a bit more simplistic, a little bit less to do and very easy to handle.
And maybe a little bit more affordable too.
A little bit, yes, yes.
So your operation is headquartered at Visnaw Lake Seaplane Base, but you also have a spot at Lake Hood.
Yes.
So where can people find you?
Well, either one. Now, my son, Forrest is his name. Forrest and I will be here all summer long. I'm basically taking the summer off from my occupation, and we'll be servicing the public here. So in either place. So if somebody in the valley wants to schedule either a scenic flight or a float plane rating training, we can do it out of Visnaw, or if Lake Hood is more convenient, we'll go back and forth. So we'll be in both locations with both airplanes, handling whatever the day's schedule dictates.
So you're not limited from one area to do flight seeing. People could schedule either activity training, flight seeing from either location.
Hood or Visnaw Lake.
Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. And you will be doing full-time instruction, not part-time or it's...
No, it's full-time, yes.
Okay.
My son is a full-time instructor. He'll be there. He'll be 6 months from basically May all the way through October. As long as the water's open, he'll be here. He'll be available to teach. Float plane training as well as airplane single engine C. I personally do private through ATP. I'm many years as an instructor, about almost 15 years as a designated pilot examiner in the Denver FSDO some years back. So I bring a wealth of information, and between the two of us, whether one wants to fly on wheels or on floats, we've got it pretty well covered.
And you're mostly looking to do add-ons, no primary instruction.
That's true. Unfortunately, due to insurance requirements or limitations, it's very difficult to take a primary student, put them in a float plane, and send them off on a cross-country flight, and it's just cost prohibitive if you can even find insurance. So the float plane pilot that would be coming to us, or the student who would be coming to us for their float plane rating, would need to be a private pilot already, airplane, single engine land, and then we would do the add-on single engine C at the private or commercial level.
Okay. And if people are interested in finding out more information before they call and make reservations or book some training, how would they find your flight school?
Well, first of all, AlaskaFlyingAdventures.com is the website. They're welcome to go on the website and check it out. Information is posted there, and primarily call me. Call the phone number that is listed on the website. It's 907-202-6402, and they can call me directly. I'll be happy to speak with them if they want to book a float plane rating. Once they've booked that reservation, I send to them a book of from Edo. Actually, this is How to Fly Floats by Kenmore Air, Edo, and it's everything you basically need to know about float plane flying and getting your rating. So this would be sent to them in advance. They could study up, so when they come here, they're able to relax, spend time between flights, maybe fishing off of our dock at Bisnaw Lake, enjoying themselves versus having to hit the book so much.
Oh, very good. So thank you so much for being with us. We will look forward to having you back on our next show, and we'll talk about doing some of the flying and some of the benefits of getting a float rating.
Wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mary.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next time with Alan Carpenter and learn some about his operation specifically. Thanks for your support, and until next time, fly safely.
Welcome back. Well, pretty light winds out along the coast tomorrow here on the south coast. Northeasterlies at 10 and southeasterlies 10 to 15 for the north side. And even the inside water is looking pretty light and variable under high pressure with northern Lynn Canal south at 15, while Stevens Passage here northerlies at 15, and northwest 15 or less for Clarence Strait with pretty slight seas. And then for Wednesday, we've got predominantly light northerlies here all along the coast, 10 knots in the forecast, seas 6 to 8 feet, and light winds over the inside waters, especially Clarence Strait down to 10 knots out of the north, northeast generally for the Stevens Passage area, and becoming north at 15 for Lynn Canal. Prince William Sound, east 15, northeast 15 for northern Cook Inlet, picking up to 20 knots here south of the Forelands. Gales, southeast gales for the Barren Islands, turning easterly at the same speed in across Augustine Island. East winds 30 knots for Shelikof Strait, southeast 30 there on the east side of Kodiak Island, and east to southeast 20 to 25 there for the North Gulf Coast. Wednesday, light northeasterlies, Prince William Sound. No change for northern Cook Inlet, or for Cook Inlet altogether. Coming down a little bit under gale force now. Small craft advisories for Kachemak Bay or Kamishak Bay, and same thing for the Barren Islands, and lower small craft advisories for Kodiak Island, 20 to 25 knots right out of the east for the North Gulf Coast. And for the Alaska Peninsula, south to southeast, 25 knots about sums it up, with seas 10 to 12 feet here on the Pacific side, and the Bering Sea side 6 feet. And then for Wednesday, increasing winds, again that next front out here to the west, so looking at some minimum gales there from say Chignik to Cape Sarachev, and just under gale force here on the Bering Sea side. Easterlies at 30 knots from Sitkinak to Chignik. Small craft advisories for Bristol Bay. Fox Islands tomorrow, southeast at 20 with 6 to 12 foot seas. More lighter and variable here all the way over to Adak, and then you pick up a northwest breeze there west of Adak to about 20 knots out towards Shemya. And then for Wednesday, westerlies at 20 knots with 10-foot seas out west. Central Aleutians north or west to northwest at about 15, and northwest 20 here along about Nikolsky back out to the west. But for Unalaska Island, southeast winds 30 knots, 9 to 13-foot seas. Southwest coast, easterlies at 25 knots, northern Bering as well. Lighter winds for the Pribilofs and 30 knots for St. Lawrence Island. Wednesday, those winds pick up here for the Pribilofs back up to 30 knots, small craft advisories and brisk wind advisories for the northern Bering Sea and St. Lawrence Island. Up along the Arctic coast, our real general wind pattern here all along the coastline, east at 25 knots, turns northeast here out west, and then lighter winds for the southeast Chukchi Sea. Then those pick up to 25 knots on Wednesday there, but diminish here for the western Arctic coast. No change here for the east side, except picking up a little bit there over toward Kaktovik and toward Demarcation Point. For tonight, some lingering flurries up there in the eastern Arctic coast, and in this area kind of shifting northward, so areas of light snow, cloudy skies, western Brooks Range, on down toward Kivalina, Point Hope, Cape Lisburne. Otherwise pretty fair over the interior. High pressure builds in over the panhandle at the surface, but still some lingering showers up north. And this front brings rain and wind into Kodiak Island and to a lesser extent here along the southwest coast. And that shifts eastward tomorrow. Moisture slides northward, so rain into Prince William Sound, especially the west side and the southern Kenai Peninsula. More showery here where the front's weaker. Rain increases for the Alaska Peninsula. Then again, rain periods of there on Wednesday with gusty winds. More showers, this whole thing shifting westward on Wednesday as the high from the panhandle begins to retrograde back to the west there. So skies will be clearing here over south central Alaska, Copper River Basin, maybe even Prince William Sound. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.